So in the face of growing calls to call it quits, President Biden says he's not going anywhere and his campaign for a second term will continue. In a letter to Democrats just this morning, the president says, I am firmly committed to staying in this race, to running this race to the end, and to beating Donald Trump. Biden is under tremendous pressure now since his disastrous debate performance 2 weeks ago, a performance that the president chalks up to just being a bad night. Biden doubling down on his doubters on Morning Joe.
They're big names, but I don't care what those big names think. They're wrong in 2020. They're wrong in 2022 about the red wave. They're wrong in 2024. And come out with me. Watch people react. You make a judgment.
So the latest 538 national polling average still showing Biden trailing former President Donald Trump by a smidge. Chief Washington correspondent John Karl, senior White House correspondent Selena Wang, and also senior reporter Catherine Faulders all join me from Capitol Hill. So, John, are any of Biden's interviews doing anything to stop Democrats from asking him to step down?
Well, does Meathead count? Rob Reiner played Meathead, of course, in the All in the Family. He was one of those Democratic donors who had said that Biden should step aside after the debate. But he has said if he does more interviews like that, he would change minds, meaning the Morning Joe interview. But honestly, I don't think that any of this has changed many minds at all. Biden's fate, I think, depends very much on what happens over the course of the next week. I think he has a little bit of breathing room right now because you have the leaders of our NATO allies are in Washington this week for meetings with the president. It's a very big week in terms of his job, his current job as president of the United States. And to undermine your party's president when he's got critical national security meetings in Washington would be quite extraordinary. He has scheduled a press conference, as you know, Kira, for Thursday late afternoon, 5:30 p.m. I suspect that will be a major moment in all of this. But look, not many minds have been changed. Biden still faces a lot of concerns, and a lot of Democrats, some publicly, many more privately, saying he should move aside as the nominee.
I still can't get over the reference to Meathead. I'm going down a rabbit hole now on the sitcom days of so many shows that were...
I could have done a Spinal Tap reference, but, you know, then we would have lost all
my
the
husband would have loved that. Yeah, exactly. Everybody would be saying, what's Kira and John talking about? I know. All right, Selena, do we know anything about what's going on behind closed doors at the White House with advisors and also those involved with Biden's campaign headquarters strategies?
Yeah, Kira, look, the entire Biden team is still in damage control. And I was just speaking to a source who was on a call that just wrapped up moments ago between the president and a group of donors. I'm told it lasted about 25 minutes. The president took all sorts of questions from these very anxious donors. And I'm told by that source on the call that the president was feisty, he was forceful, he was defiant, saying, quote, to these donors, I'm not going anywhere, I promise you. He said that they need to move forward and they need to focus on beating Trump. The source also told me the president said he's done talking about the debate and it's time to, quote, put the political bullseye on Trump. And on this call, the president said Trump is only 3 years younger than me. They need to focus on attacking Trump. And I'm told during the Q&A session, one person on the call had asked the president how he's going to prepare differently for the next debate, what he's going to do differently in the next debate. And the president said attack, attack, attack. But look, Kira, the president knows that these next few days are absolutely critical. As John mentioned, there's the NATO summit. This is a chance for the president to look presidential and show leadership on the world stage. But at the same time, a lot of Democrats and allies I've been speaking to say at this point, there's really nothing the president can do to turn his image around, that this damage is already done.
Well, and John, word is that House Democrats are going to be meeting off the Hill now at DNC headquarters tomorrow. Cell phones are going to be banned. So what do you think this is all about? And also, the president just joined this call with major donors. Are there concerned that, you know, they could be getting cold feet when it comes to shelling out cash for his campaign?
The donors certainly have been getting cold feet. That's why Biden felt the need to join that call. This is fascinating that this meeting 9 o'clock tomorrow, not on Capitol Hill as the caucus meetings usually are, but at the DNC headquarters, as you mentioned, and that they're asked to put their cell phones aside. I don't know if Catherine Falders is on. She may correct me, but I can't recall a full, outside of like a national security meetings, like in the secure rooms, but a meeting of the entire party conference where they are told not to bring their cell phones. That's an extraordinary step. I think that'll be a very important meeting. As you know, Hakeem Jeffries had a meeting with the leaders of the Democratic leaders on the committees in the House yesterday, and at least 4 of the Democratic committee leaders told him that they believed that it was time for Biden to step aside. The full conference could be far more raucous. There's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of members of the House, including members of the Congressional Black Caucus, who are extremely supportive of Biden and angry at the calls for him to step aside. And there are many more who are making those calls. So that'll be a very key moment tomorrow morning. And I guess we'll have to wait because we won't be able to call any of them or text any of them while the meeting is going on.
So, Catherine, what are lawmakers up on the Hill saying, and what could be the various options here as this cry for Biden to drop out continues?
Right, I was going to say to John's point, the reporting out of that meeting would be quite hard. I've heard of Republicans doing that when the former Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, was getting irritated about news leaking out, but this is definitely a change for them. So, look, in terms of options, it's surely something that's going to be discussed in the coming days. We know Mondays are kind of difficult up here on Capitol Hill because the House and the Senate come in later in the day, so it's basically status quo in terms of what we heard from top Democrats on the House side. We know that Senator Mark Warner was trying to convene that group of senators to sign this letter to Biden asking him to step down. On the Senate side, we know that tomorrow senators will meet behind closed doors. This will be their regularly scheduled caucus meeting, but obviously this will be discussed during that meeting, and I'm sure that Senate Democrats will have a lot to say after it. So tomorrow is probably a really big day for Democrats up here, and lots of news will be ultimately coming out of those 2 meetings. Look, the Biden campaign, the last thing I'll say is the Biden campaign has acknowledged, at least through an advisor, that they believe that there will be more Democrats coming out on the record asking him to step down. But this advisor said, look, this is simple math, that Biden will still have the support of most of the caucus. Let's see how that holds into this week, Kira.
All right, John, Selena, Catherine, thank you all so much. We'll continue the conversation.